Now, things start on time where I'm from. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Uncle Kage. I don't know why. But here I am at Eurofurence for the... Good Christ, is this the 17th time I've been on this stage?
1700th?
Something like that. I tell stories. True stories. Unlike the rest of my countrymen, especially the ones in office. Typically, I tell stories about places I've been, people I've met, shit that's happened to me, wine that I've consumed. Those are short stories. But I got to thinking, the theme this year is fractures in time. And I've been coming to Eurofurence since EF8. Maybe I should tell stories of the Eurofurence of old. I'll take that as a yes. Usually starts out with a glass of wine in one hand and the phrase, "Let me tell you a story." Usually spoken in a slurred American accent like, "Let me tell you a story." No shit, there I was. It was in 2002 or some ungodly time like that. Thank you for that. That's the going back to the past.
Yeah, this is it, yeah.
2002, I got an email from this guy who had what I believed to be the greatest name in furry fandom. I immediately wanted to meet this man. When I get an email from somebody named Sven Take It Off, I'm like, oh, he and I have got to be friends. He said, "Why don't you come to Eurofurence?" I said, "Oh, you mean the one that's in a different European Union nation every single year and bops around Europe?" And he said, "Something like that." So I said, "Sure." And they had a nice website. You see, I'm the chairman of a very, very large convention. It was a big convention back then. And every convention has a theme, right? And you try to do something that's kind of in line with the theme. And as I was on the plane to Germany, I thought, this is gonna be fun. I wonder, since this is such a cute, tiny little convention, I wonder if they're gonna do anything in line with the theme. And their theme that year was nice. It was on the website, the FIA, the Furry Intelligence Agency. I said, well, that's adorable. Somebody make a noise out there if you remember the FIA. Woo! Thank you, 12 people. As I said, it was small back then. Here's the trick. They're still around. You just don't know it. Yes, the FIA, a secret branch of the German government that was designed to kind of monitor their activity, these strange animal people out there. And they were bringing in a noted American scientist, an expert on these creatures. So I arrived at the airport. Coming from the United States very shortly after an unfortunate period of my country's history, I was wondering what the security was going to be like. And when I got to passport control, there was a German gentleman there who had no eyelids. Or at least, he might have had eyelids, but he could see through them. Because he was sitting there like this. And I walked toward him, he said, yeah. I got my passport out, I saw he said, yeah, go. Oh, he had a night, didn't he? So I stepped out. I always travel in business attire. when I fly. It makes people think that I'm important. So I stepped out of the passport. Hi. I'm being herded. I stepped out of the passport control, the old automatic doors, and whoosh, Star Trek doors slide open. There were 3 imposing-looking men in black suits with black sunglasses, black fedoras, and curly radio things here, and very official-looking government ID. And I thought, that's nice. I just kind of started to go around them, and one of them stepped in my way and said, "Dr. Convey?" I said, "Yes. I really hope you're at the convention." He said, "Come with us, please." And they picked up my bags, one in front, one to the left, one to the right. They marched me out of the airport. This is at Frankfurt Flughafen. Out of the airport, there was a vintage silver Mercedes-Benz limousine out there with a red carpet leading up to it, 2 more of these black-clad individuals with the sunglasses looking around suspiciously like this, and a black SUV, front and back, with the FIA logo on the doors. And that limousine had flags mounted on the fenders, the German flag on the right, the FIA flag on the left. And I walked up, and I was greeted by a guy with a big dog who's like, "Grr, grr, I'm watching you, yeah." I looked in the back seat. There was a box of Cuban cigars. We can't get those. On the back seat. They opened the door, and I got in. And in perfect synchronization, these 2 black SUVs and limousine pulled out and around the ramp and onto the Autobahn. And the flags were flapping like this, and the SUVs were very close front and back. It must have made quite a spectacle, because I'm sitting in the back, kind of toward the driver's side, and I would see people would pull up, and I would see from the corner of my eye, they were kind of pacing, looking, and I would just do this. And they'd back up. We got off of the Autobahn, immediately onto a road made of dirt. It was this wide. And I suspect they wanted 2 vehicles to be able to pass. We started driving into the fields and into the forests, far from civilization. And I said, I really hope these guys are with the convention. In the middle of nowhere, on an unseen, unheard cue, we stopped. And the doors opened on the SUVs, and people got out, and the passenger in the front seat got out. And I started to reach for the door handle, and the driver looked in the mirror and said, "Nine!" With the convention, right? They opened up the back of the SUVs and got out German police light bars and put them on the roofs of the SUVs and activated the sirens and brought me into the Khan site, which was a little youth hostel located in Siberia. Thank you. Pulled me up where there was another red carpet waiting. And I got out, and a gentleman came up, snapped to attention and saluted, and I returned his salute. And he took me inside this red carpet to meet the immortal, the amazing Sven Tegethoff, Cheetah to you and I. And I walked up and I said, "Dude, you win! I can't top this!" Cheetah and I have been the best of friends ever since. But I kind of made it my mission. Okay, they showed me up. Now I need to do something to out-cool the Germans. We did that once. I'm going to do it again, okay? Some of you got that. All right, anyhow. We were in a hotel in Philadelphia, and it was not long afterward that we moved to a big, gleaming glass palace of a convention center. And it was gorgeous. It was a huge step for furry conventions. I had to call up Sven. Hey Sven, it's Kage. You know, I'm having my convention at a huge, gorgeous convention center next year. And he said, oh, we're having ours in the castle. That was the last time I tried to out-cool Eurofurence. I couldn't if I wanted to. I would miss Anthrocon before I would miss Eurofurence. Because my staff doesn't give me this. I didn't even ask for this. They just knew somehow that I would want it. I was explaining to somebody once, by the way, in the first FurryCon panel. Hi, pup. You're dragging your... Just turn around. The cord. Yeah. Years ago, I saw a fursuiter like this one, sitting in a chair, kind of sitting very still, and his chest was rising and falling in a somewhat exaggerated fashion. And I was worried. I went up and I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, I'm feeling very overheated." I said, "Can I help you get somewhere?" He said, "No, I just could use some water." Now, in those days, we didn't have the fursuit lounges. We didn't have the long straws. So I had an idea. I said, "I'll go to the bar, and I will get you a piece of ice. And then you can like suck on the ice or something that will cool you down and you'll have some water." He said, "That's a good idea." So I went to the bar, and I went to the fursuiter. I said, "Okay, open your mouth." I was very bad at basketball my entire life. I watched the ice cube bounce off of his chin and go down here. And that is how I invented the fursuit dance competition. But getting back to EF, that was spectacular. EF8, that was, my first Eurofurence. And it was amazing. Such a small convention of people who worked so hard, put so much of their heart and soul into making this happen. I even learned something. I spoke no German back then. I knew Ja and Nein, and I didn't know which one was which. I learned all of my German from watching Hogan's Heroes. Kids today. So I was very confused when I heard a word that I did not understand. Security was very, very active one morning when I woke up. And, okay, as a convention organizer, when security is very active, what's going on? So I'm running around, like, what's the problem? There was something that was agitating them. So I stopped the security guy. I said, what's wrong? And he said, "Kaus." I said, "Kaus? Kauskinski? Kaus? Was ist Kaus?" He said, "Kaus, moo, moo, moo." I said, "What?" And I looked out, and they had cows. Apparently there was a farm next door, and one of the furries was very curious about the gate and was playing with it and managed to leave it open. And the campsite was awash with cows running through. And I got to watch Eurofurence security pretending to be Texas cowhands at the last roundup. I would have helped, but it was too funny just to watch. They also had a sign outside on the trees, and it was written in English, and it said, Do not go fursuiting in the woods. This is hunting season. We are not joking. I thought, this could be tragic and adorable at the same time. I loved EF8. I gave it my best. I wanted to make sure they got their money's worth. I tried very hard, tried to entertain. I think I might have done something right, because Sven contacted me afterward and said, would you come back next year? And I said, absolutely, absolutely. Next year was going to be EF9. There's a reason they call it EF9. Would you like to know why? Remember how I said Eurofurence is supposed to go to a different European nation every year? Well, apparently since I think EF8 or so, it had gotten stuck in Germany. It had been in Germany for several years in a row, and somebody got butthurt over it. Apparently somebody bitched about it, probably the French. I'm sorry, but you guys whine a lot, okay? Anybody here from France, by the way? I see a Frenchman here. Bonjour. Parlez-vous allemand? No? You're welcome. Anyway, apparently somebody complained it's supposed to be in a different EU nation every year. Why is it always in the Allemande? So the Germans, they said, it just turned out that way. Okay, if you're complaining, raise your hand, who wants it? And the room was quiet. And then, way in the back of the room, a little hand from the Czech Republic went up. And the German said, okay, Czechia. And everybody else said, 9! Which is why they called it EF9. That's a cheap joke, I'm sorry. And I was very confused. I was watching the message boards, and people were screaming, this is terrible, we're going to boycott the convention, we're not going to go. Primarily Germans being upset at this, I'll have you know. And I thought, what, just because it's not in your backyard, you're getting upset? So I went on the message boards, and I said, guys, I don't see the problem. What is wrong? And they said, we do not want to go to the Czech Republic. I said, you didn't have a problem in 1938. Sorry, buddy. The funny part is that's true. That's exactly what I said. But it shut the argument down. But a lot of people didn't go that year. And I was mystified. Until I got there. First off, I like the Czech Republic. The Czech Furs, they worked their asses off. They did an incredible job with what they had available. The problem was they didn't really have a lot that was available. Like, you know, technology, electricity, stone tools. I was picked up at the airport by a fantastic young fellow who was driving a vintage Skoda. One of those with the engine in the back. And when you open up the back of the trunk, it looks like somebody dropped a grape into a steamer trunk. There's a little engine this big in the middle of this huge empty space. And I said, why is all that empty space? He said, well, in case you need to put a spare engine in. We started off into the mountains. And I watched the speedometer as we went up the hills go down, and as we went down the hills, it went up. As we went up the hills, it went down. And we went up the hills, it went up. And then we got to the bottom of the hill where it was straight for a long way, and I was getting very nervous. We passed farmers who watched us go by with looks of astonishment. And I said to my driver, "That's fun, you'd think they'd never seen a car before." And with a straight face, I said, "They probably haven't." Honest, guys, every story I tell is guaranteed 105% true by the White House itself. Ow, don't do that. Anyhow, we got to the con site. I don't know where they found this thing. It was called, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, Sportorial Samopse. A youth camp, a sporting camp that was apparently built in the Stalin era. Because when you drove in, there was a series of gray concrete bunkers. And I said, "What's this?" He said, "This is Eurofurence." I said, "Really?" Now I know why they went to a castle. Well, I took my baggage out, and I was shown to my room. A long hallway that went down the center of the bunker had rooms on either side. Little rooms, maybe 2 meters wide by 3 meters long. And the doors had 2 locks, one on the inside, one on the outside. And I said, "Do I get both keys?" He said, "Oh, nobody knows where the keys are." I'll just put my suitcase in front of the door. Okay. Does anybody remember EF9? Remember the river?
Yes.
There was a river. They affectionately called it the Toxic River. It ran behind the con site. And I think everything drained into that river. Everything, including the wastewater from Chernobyl. Do you know what Monster Energy drink looks like? That's what the river looked like. I swear on my mother's grave, it was exactly the same color. It's probably the same ingredients, with just slightly more radioactive isotopes. They didn't have a large room for an event hall like this. So being inventive, these furries rented a large performance tent that was to be placed on a level piece of ground, which apparently when the tent was put up, nobody could find. So they found a piece of ground that did this. Close enough, okay? They would have all their big events in there, and they had a pulpit stage, nice stage like this. They had got sound equipment, and they had wireless microphones just like this. And it was very, very soon that some problems began. They were getting ready to start the pulpit show, for example, and they were having trouble with the microphones because the wireless microphone. So Cheetah said, "Uncle Kage, do you know how to distract people?" There was one advantage that they had. This portion of Czechoslovakia is very close to a place they used to call, I believe, Moravia, where they make extraordinary white wine. At the time, a bottle of white wine cost 25, I think it was the kroner, the local currency, 25, which was approximately 8 cents US. I had 1,500 of these in my pocket. I bought the bar. I still own it. So I distracted people. I did what I do. You're seeing it now. Don't look at the sound stage. Don't look at the guys working. Just look at the funky American who's throw up on his shoes because he's drinking 8-cent wine. And I was doing that. And behind the pulpit stage, I heard an urgent voice whisper, Kage, Kage. What? Fairlight was back there. Fairlight's a grand puppeteer, fantastic guy. Looked down, I said, what is this? He said, don't touch the light pole, it's under current. I said, well, of course it's under current, it's a light pole. That's how it works, you can't get electricity. He said, no, 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 no. And I said, you're serious, aren't you? Apparently, they had hired a Czech electrician, to plug in the technology, which is a word I invented. He wired in all 237.5 volts and 75 billion amperages and forgot to ground any of it. Everything, the tent poles, the light poles, was electrified. Ask Cheetah how this was discovered. You know what happened to his hair? Everything was under current. The entire tent was energized. And that's when the thunderstorm started. They could not get the wireless microphones to work. Cheetah was in despair. And he said to me, we'll have to cancel the performance. I said, no. That is the one rule in show business that is absolutely non-negotiable. The show must go on. He said, but the wireless microphones are crap. I said, do you have wired microphones? He said, yes, but the sound stage is all the way in the back. I said, so? How long are the cords? And he got a look of revelation on his face. And he said, we might make this work, and maybe no one will die. So they got 6 microphones with wires, and they ran them to the sound stage in the back, and they ran the wires over the shoulders of the audience. And at the intermission, they asked me again if I would distract people. So I took one of these microphones. And you notice I tend to move around a lot? I was having fun making a wave. I'd go like this and people are going... It's like... No decapitations. Everybody had fun. Oh, I left my watch in the States. I gotta keep track of time. There we go. Okay. There are rumors that we made it work and that the relief was so intense that Cheetah and I wound up dancing shirtless on stage. These are just rumors, of course. No photos exist, so you can believe what you want. So that was EF9. There were a lot of other things that happened that to this day they haven't told me about. And I'm a colleague. But still, to this day, they refer to EF9 as the disaster. And have you noticed? It's been in Germany ever since. Live and learn, right? Cheetah asked me if I would come back. I said, really? After that? Sure, why the hell not? EF10. I think that was Olpa. Was that correct?
Yes.
EF10 was in Olpa. Olpa is a magnificent, cute little town. To an American, it doesn't look real. I mean, Olpa is a very, very old area. And we're driving through, and I said, oh, no, okay, you're dicking with me. This is a theme park. This is Germany land, isn't it? Yeah, I see, that's made of cardboard over there, right? We don't have anything like that in my country. In my country, something 125 years old is considered old. And 300 miles is considered a short distance. Just keep that in mind. I don't remember a lot about Olpa, and there's a reason. For one thing, they managed to find really fantastic German wine, which you might notice I love, in a keg. I think the keg held 10 liters or so. And I was determined not to waste any of it. So, there you are. As the night went on, I'm going to finish this sucker. There comes a point when you are consuming alcohol that it begins to affect your brain. I tend to have a very strong tolerance, but we reached a point where I apparently forgot how to speak English. I could only speak French, and I still can't figure out why that seemed to be. I couldn't remember the English words. Comme ça. There's only one thing that I remember from that night, and that was thinking. Again, it affects your mind. It affects your judgment. They had these large glasses you drink beer from. You know the really big ones you like to drink the beer out of? Steins. Yeah, Steins. I thought it would be a good idea to mix equal parts red wine, Jägermeister, and absinthe. When I woke up the next day, I was dead. Rigor mortis, putrefaction, everything. I was already starting to decompose. I woke up. We had bunk beds. I was sharing a room with Gideon. You might know him. He's an old friend of mine, a furry artist, Gideon. He has a very big name in the family back where I come from. Some of you are fans, I heard that chuckle. He was in the bottom bunk, I was up on the top bunk. And I woke up, and I sat up, and I was groaning. Oh my God, I have never felt pain like that. I've had headaches before. This was a masterpiece. Gideon woke up concerned and he said, "Are you all right?" I said, "No. I fell out of the bunk last night and I fractured my skull on the floor." And he said, "No, I don't think so." He said, "You didn't move all night. In fact, a few times I had to check and make sure you still had a pulse." And I tried to move, and the body, having been poisoned by a combination of red wine, Jägermeister, and absinthe, wanted to rid itself of everything that might be left. It wanted to get rid of the remaining absinthe. It wanted to get rid of the remaining red wine. It wanted to get rid of my pancreas. It wanted to get rid of my spleen. You know how it is when you feel it coming up and you try to gulp it back down? I slid down onto the floor and I went to take a shower. This was the greatest idea. I don't know why we didn't keep this. When you went into the room, you went through the shower. You guys remember that? You went through the shower to get into the room. You couldn't leave the room without going through the shower. Think about that. So I stumbled into the shower. Fortunately, didn't go through the other door. In my stupor. And when I came out, I started putting on my nice clothes and pulling my lab coat on, and Gideon said, "What are you doing? You should go back to bed." I said, "No. Uncle Kage has a reputation. Must go down and act like everything is good." So I went down to breakfast. You know that walk where you can't lift your heels? And I sat down at breakfast. And I looked at the wonderful fare offered by Germany for breakfast, with 85 different kinds of boiled pig. I'm just going to have some coffee. And I poured the coffee. It was, don't make so much noise. And I picked up the sugar dispenser. My hand was shaking. And that's when I met Thor, the thunder god. Thor, are you out there? He's a wonderful fellow. We've become good friends. But he has the most amazing baritone reverberating voice. I believe he's from Denmark, because he sat down with me and said, "Oh, is it all right if I sit here?" Just gonna have some coffee. And I went to pick up the sugar again, and Thor decided to make conversation. "Do you know there are places in Denmark we put salt in coffee?" Those are my memories of EF10. What was the next year? That would be 11, wouldn't it? Was that the first year in Nuremberg? EF11. Oh my gosh. EF11. First off, the city of Nuremberg is magnificent. It is beautiful. It is a jewel of classical medieval German architecture. They did such a remarkable job, shall we say, picking up the pieces after our attempts to help them remodel. We're sorry. But I loved Nuremberg. And Nuremberg Castle, that was the castle! Oh. Oh, yes. Go for it. See, I gotta find it. There it is. What? No. Okay, I'm waiting. No. Okay, this is not a 1970s soap opera. How much have you had to drink? Not enough. Here.
Not enough.
I'll speak slowly. I love Nuremberg Castle, with one tiny exception. Okay, two tiny exceptions. One, apparently they didn't have lifts in the 14th century, which was the last time they remodeled the castle. They had installed a lift after our remodeling that was exactly the size of one German. Or 2/3 of an American. I mean, you could fit one person up in this thing. And the other was the showers. I don't know who thought this was a good idea. I guess it was a water-saving measure. These showers had a large button in the wall. You couldn't miss it. It was the size of your palm. You push the button and psh, water, nice warm water would come cascading down for exactly 10 seconds. And then it would stop. You would have to push the button again. And you would get another 10 seconds. The third time, you'd get a third 10 seconds. But they were wise to that trick. Because the fourth time, it changed. See, there are two pipes in the wall behind that button. One of them is connected directly to the North Sea, whereas the other is connected to the Earth's molten core. When they mix with a sort of explosion of steam inside that button, you get nice warm water. On the fourth push, the Earth's core is cut off. Very sudden. There's no, guess what, here it comes. It's, you've pushed it too many times, you're fucked now. I was met with a surprise. A very, very sharp surprise. I am told. See, a lot of times I am not a witness. I have to be told these stories. But I am told a story. Some of my German friends had a room on the opposite side of the castle from mine. And they were jolted out of bed. And they sat up. And one of them said, "What the hell was that?" And another one said, "I don't know. It was English and loud. It has to be Uncle Kage." And it was. Something about, let's see, motherfucking goddamn kraut showers. I think that's what I said. And you would too. That was 11. EF12. EF12 kind of had special meaning, because I was in love with Eurofurence by now. My dear and sainted parents were approaching their 50th wedding anniversary. And, okay, this is a special time. We call it the golden anniversary. So I was visiting my parents at their home, and I said, "Okay, your 50th wedding anniversary is coming. You tell me where you'd like to go, I'll send you." I thought they would want to go to old people places, you know, Niagara Falls, Florida, Alaska cruise. No, I said, "Where do you want to go?" And they said, "Eurofurence." I said, "Okay." So I called up Cheetah, and I said, "Dude, guess what?" And he was thrilled. He was absolutely thrilled. And he said, "I need two things. I need a picture of your parents back when they were first married, and I need to know what song they danced to at their wedding." Okay. The first one was easy. I had that hanging up in my house. But how do you find out what song your parents danced to at their wedding? Do you know what song your parents danced to at their wedding? No, you don't, do you? I had to find out. But how do you casually find out? Say, "Dad, this has anything to do with your upcoming golden anniversary, but what song did you dance to at your wedding? I'm just curious. Now, that wasn't gonna work. I had to use subterfuge. That's called being sneaky in my language, by the way. My little old mom was working at a little delicatessen at lunchtime. And I went to that little delicatessen. She had a lot of regular customers, older businessmen that knew her. So I kind of stood in the back while she was waiting on her customers. And I started telling her customers about her exciting youth when she rode with the motorcycle gang and all of the things that her and her posse used to do, the encounters with the police that they had, her record. She doesn't like her customers knowing about this, so she started throwing things at me, increasingly heavy things. And when she threw the soup pot at me, I ducked and I said, "Oh, don't give me that, lady, for Christ's sake. When you got married, you danced a wild thing." She said, "That's not true. It was red sails in the sunset." I said, "Oh, really?" Red sails. Grandma Kage didn't raise no idiot. So I told Cheetah, and I said, "What are you gonna do?" And he said, "Don't worry, we Germans don't do anything halfway." Not gonna go there. So I entreated the furry public. This was before GoFundMe. I said, "Hey, anybody want to chip in? Let's get my parents there in style." With the help of the furry community, both American and European, we were able to get first-class tickets for my parents to fly across the Atlantic. They arrived in Nuremberg. They were as enchanted as I was. Heather Alexander, now Alexander James Adams, was performing that year as the spirit of music. Oh, and she was absolutely memorable, sublime. My parents loved the performance. In a big room, not maybe as big as this, but the same concept, a large room like this. And after it was done, I took them out onto the castle battlements to look out over the beautiful medieval city of Nuremberg at night. And I waited for a high sign. I can't recall, was it either Louis or Overf showed up in the door and was like, they needed somebody tall. I said, "Come on." I said, "Oh, Mom, Dad, Heather wanted to meet you. You liked your music so much, she'd like to meet you." They said, "Oh, okay, let's go back inside." Now I know what it means when you say, Germans don't do anything halfway. In the mere 9 minutes that we were out there, the entire convention, everyone was in on it. They hastily moved all the chairs out of the room. They laid down a dance floor, and they projected that picture of my parents when they were young. And when we got inside, every member of the convention was standing around the dance floor, each one holding a candle. And that's what lit the room. And I ushered my parents out onto the dance floor. And Cheetah introduced them, and then began playing Nat King Cole, Red Sails in the Sunset. You know it? You'll learn it for the next time I tell this story. Imagine Nat King Cole playing the piano with Foxamore. Red Sails in the Sunset, just like they danced to in 1956. My mom's birthday was this past Monday, by the way. She is of a certain age. Gentlemen don't tell. Could be a late birthday present. After Eurofurence, I took them on a first-class overnight sleeper train to Paris. And we toured Paris for 3 days. We saw all the Paris sights. It ended, you know, we saw Versailles. We saw the Seine, had a boat ride on the Seine. The evening ended with dinner in the Eiffel Tower, altitude 95. Dinner in the Eiffel Tower at sunset, overlooking the city of Lights, Paris, that one. 3 days in Paris. A dream vacation for any American, really. Especially, you know, la vie d'amour. But to this day, many years later, to this day, if you ask my mom about her 50th wedding anniversary, the only thing she talks about is the dance at Nuremberg by candlelight, surrounded by furries. I could go on. What was that, 11, 12? I lost track. I'm having so much trouble remembering. I don't...
Does anyone have a corkscrew? Hast anyone einen Korkenscrewen? For the taken of the corken from the flasche?
Whoa. Ah! Oh, a Frenchman, hi. Thank you very much. No, he's Swiss. Brief intermission. Fox, keep him entertained. I'll be right back. Sorry, where was I? That was 12. Oh, then there was EF-13. No, you can't. Was that the first year at the Ringberg? Oh my gosh. I could do an entire story hour about the Ringberg. My favorite memory of the Ringberg Hotel was the barman. He is the greatest barman in all of Germany. His name is Andre Opitz. Herr Opitz, when he first met me, I went up to him and I introduced myself the way I typically introduce myself to someone that I meet in Germany. I walked up and said, guten Tag, ich bin ein dummer Amerikaner und ich spreche kein Deutsch. Which, for those who don't speak German, is, I'm a stupid American and don't speak your language. That is a useful phrase for someone from my country. A little self-deprecating humor goes a long way. Ich bin ein dummer Amerikaner. Ich spreche kein Deutsch. In France, je suis la barbare américaine, je ne parle pas français. In the Czech Republic, je jsem blbý Američan a nevím česky. In Japan, 私はやっぱり外人ですよ。全然わかりません。In Australia, I mean, fuck it. But I said that to Andre, and Andre, he fell over laughing. He loved it. And every time he saw me from across the bar, Dr. Duma Amerikaner, hello, what's the line? Yeah, ich habe Wein here. I became Dr. Duma Amerikaner. I was going to put that on my badge, Dr. Duma Amerikaner. Andre was fantastic because, let's face it, nobody here becomes a furry. You are a furry, and then you only at some point discover that there's a word for it. Andre discovered it. When we came in, he was like, my people! He took to us right away. He decided he was an otter. And Andre's head, he doesn't have any of this stuff. He called himself the hairless master of alcohol. And that was his persona, was an otter bartender. He even made up little, I can't recall who the artist was, drew his persona, holding the barman's dispenser. And he had these reproduced in a small postage stamp size and had them laminated so they're liquid proof. And he would put one at the bottom of every drink. So when you finished your drink, there would be his card. Andre, the hairless master of alcohol. So he was the hairless master of alcohol, and I was der Duma Amerikaner. Do you know I used to have a fursuit? Have you ever seen pictures of Chester Ringtail? That slinky, sexy boy toy character that goes back to the early days of furry fandom. Terry Smith created the character. There was a fursuit of it. Guess who wore that fursuit? Chester. I was a little bit better built then. I was able to fill the Chester suit much more nicely than I would today. Chester was very, very popular with many people. And Chester came out of the lift. And he was, ringtail cat slinking across the lobby with that little sway of his. And Andre saw him. And there were immediately little hearts popping in his eyes. And Andre ran up and he gave Chester a big hug. And he got his photo taken with Chester. Whispering in Chester's ear, holding his head on his shoulder. Picture with Chester. Oh, he was smitten. Then he had to go back to the bar and he kissed Chester on the cheek and started going back. But Chester caught his sleeve and pulled him up and poked that dainty little muzzle into his ear and said, Duma Amerikaner. For those of you who remember the amazing man, and for those of you who would like to meet him, Andre is coming to visit Eurofurence on Saturday. I shall introduce you for a small compensation. There's so many more stories I could tell. The problem is, I've got all this wine, and there's only me to drink it. This is going to be a problem. Not for me, but for you. Because if I drink all this myself, I'm going to fall down. Thankfully, it is all for me, and I am not obliged to share it with anyone it all. So, here is to Eurofurence and the soul... Tian Long, ladies and gentlemen. Wait a minute. Did you already have one? You son of a bitch! No,
It was one sip, okay? I just had to make sure that it was, you know...
Okay, how many
enough.
sips is that, guys?
That's one...
You got a big mouth.
It's one German sip, okay?
Oh, a German sip.
It's a German sip, yes.
How many imperial sips is that?
Oh. You're the only man up here that counts as an imperial, you backwards pig, you.
Any other Yanks here right now? Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
You almost have enough to start a baseball game.
We have them outnumbered.
So, I couldn't help but listen in on all of the exciting stories that you had of Eurofurences of past in the back there. And, well, I just wanted to come up and just personally thank all of Eurofurence so far because it has been a wonderful time and I wouldn't miss this convention for the world. So, thank you very much for having us back once again, Eurofurence.
Indeed. Thank you very much.
See you back here. What are we doing up here again?
Well, I think it's time to point out that Uncle Kage's Story Hour is free. That's the entree,